Gonna go ahead and record everything. Melissa, kick it off for us. Who are you? How long have you been in this profession? And I think you got to give us one fun fact, just one. There's a lot of cool things about you, by the way. Just narrow it down to one if you can.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I am Melissa Wood, Access College America College Consultant, Director. Don't let the title fool you. I'm super chill, but I like to have my ducks in a row. High energy, they'll will attest to that. Super high energy, and I've been doing this for like about 19 years. This is my 20, I'm wrapping up my 25th year in education. It's hard to believe. Helping kids and families find, we were just talking about it, find the right major and then the right college fit. That's going to lead to the ultimate goal of the right career down the road. And so when we talk about these things and we share all of our strategies with you guys, it's just fun. It's what we do. It's you know how how we can peel the layers and really get to the core of what students and families are looking for is really what we enjoy. I know we're wrapping up AP testing season. Some people are already out of school. Tomorrow's their last day, graduations this weekend, all the things. And so I still have another week to go. But a week from tomorrow, I will be graduating my 25th class. So I'm excited for that.
Wow.
Fun fact, Dale. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if it's just that I'm high energy and I love
Favorite
playing
place to
golf
eat.
and being outdoors.
Favorite place to eat in
Woo.
Austin. Where do you guys like to go?
Oh my. Favorite place?
Come on.
There is a place called Sienna's and it's off at 360 and 2222.
I
So
feel like I've
we
heard of
love
that
going
place.
there. Uh-huh. It's a great Italian food. So it's
Oh,
very authentic, not your run of the mill,
huh.
food chain.
No, not hating on Olive Garden. I actually love to get down with Olive Garden though, but but it's not really authentic. Melissa is local. She is a licensed school counselor. She's amazing. She's a lead counselor based out of Leander. I don't know what is going on in Leander. Everybody is moving out there these days. Melissa also is a bit humble. She is a former Employee of the Quarter award winner with us. I mean, her family's love her. You guys go read our reviews, go see what everyone says about her. Like, Melissa is just good people. She's a lot of fun to work with, and it's always a pleasure to present with you. My name is Dale. I'm the founder and CEO for Access College America. We are a locally based leading college planning agency, and we are more of a boutique agency with a white glove spin to us, meaning that we have a limited intake and we create custom curriculums for every single one of the scholars that we get to work with. We're deeply rooted in the schools that we service. So shout out to Westlake, Westwood, Lhasa, Bowie, Lake Travis, just to name a few of the schools on the short list that we work with. And we do have an edge towards STEM specialties. A lot of the families that we work with, our scholars, are applying to some of the hardest, most competitive majors today, which would include majors like biomedical engineering. Melissa was just meeting with a scholar a minute ago, working on that. So, medicine, pre med, business, which is overly represented. Everyone's applying to business these days, and engineering programs, computer science, the list goes on. Today's um my intention for today is we have got a bag full of questions, a whole bunch of questions. I have grouped those questions up into particular topics from timelines to questions about the essays and just miscellaneous strategies. So we're gonna kind of unpack that. Melissa and I enjoy presenting with each other because we're not scripted, and if you had a talk show on college prep, it would almost be like this. Like, we should really start our own podcast. But we are going to just try to keep our answers a little bit short because we have several. We will not get through all of them. but there's not a real fixed agenda here. So we have the questions. For those of you attending, you can send us more questions live in the Q&A box, and we're just going to dive in. Before I go over everything, I just want to give you a real quick highlight on what we are seeing in the world of admissions. What were some of the just quick takeaways, lessons learned from the class of 2026? And I just want to say that early action, no surprise, but the benefit, those of you applying early action, you are seeing much more of a higher acceptance rate. This is mainly because people that are applying at the beginning of the application season tend to be stronger applicants. They worked on that essay, they started their essays before August. So, they are people that are the juniors right now. They're already looking towards deadlines, dates, and strategies and starting to unpack and peel back the layers of themselves. So, when we look at the trends, data is suggesting and proving that those applying early do get a bump in the application review. I also want to reiterate and reconfirm the most popular majors today do tend to be those within the wheelhouse of engineering, business, and psychology. These are the most popular fields of study. They are getting the most attention. More people are applying to these three areas than other areas. Why am I bringing this up? Because if you have your eye on any of those, you need to realize that the competition is stacked and there's going to be less seats and the acceptance rates will be lower in these areas. Test optional means test preferred. One of my last quick tips about the class of 2026, meaning that a growing number of selective colleges and universities have reinstated test requirements. When I'm talking about is Stanford, MIT, UT, Georgia Tech, Purdue, they either reinstated or they signaled high test scores are favored. All right. So test optional really just means test preferred. Unless you're at a liberal arts college, 9 times out of 10, awesome liberal arts colleges, they really are not going to be biased. But don't let the other big schools fool you and say otherwise. Major alignment, critical. So even those that are not admitting by the major, I want to be clear about this part because we hear a lot of colleges say things like, we do not admit by major, but they're going to ask you, what major do you want to apply to? This is very important. Folks out there need to know two things. While they may not admit you to that major, they are going to consider that major in the evaluation process. That admissions committee has a responsibility to the institution to admit a range of students that they feel are going to be qualified to succeed in that university. And so they're going to look at the major, and while they may not admit to it, they're looking for indicators, insight of intellectual curiosity, evidence that you can be successful in an engineering program if admitted into one. Or they're looking for evidence that you can be successful in a business program once you move into that. They're looking at your math classes, your GPA, they're looking at your testing score. So they need to see some sort of evidence that, look, if you end up getting into this major, you're going to succeed in it. The second point I want to point out, because I think that people are underestimating the value of listing that major, you guys have to understand all colleges have institutional priorities. They're going to look at the major, they're going to consider the major, and they have to have a diverse academic incoming class. They can't just have everybody applying to a psychology program. So while they may not admit by the major, this is how they are considering the major. Finally, qualified is not competitive enough anymore. So it's important you know that strong grades, strong test scores, that's just going to get your application evaluated in the more selective colleges and universities. Melissa, anything that you want to piggyback on about those topics?
Absolutely. So, like what you were just saying, Dale, it's not enough to have the test scores, to have the letters of rec, to have the background for a specific major. It is the then what? You did these things, you took these classes. I want to know what you did beyond the classroom, beyond a summer learning opportunity. What did you do? Did you implement? Did you teach? Did you reach farther than just having that experience? You can have all kinds of experiences listed in your activities or in your expanded resume, specifically for UT, but it's the what did you do after that? Did we, like I said, did we expand on that? Did we decide to take it one step further than what we did, what we learned within that activity? So that's the biggest thing is like the then what or the so what, right? Where are we going after that? And so I know you've talked about that and had it on our Facebook feeds. And on the socials, you've posted about that is the I want to know as an admissions officer, as an admissions advisor, what did you do with it after that? So I love that. And I've been plugging that left and right because it's one thing to say that I participated and I was in HSRA or I did this internship, I did this summer, I took this summer opportunity. I don't want to know the laundry list. I want to know what you did. Were you a change agent? Did you take a leadership role beyond that? And what did you really do with it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that what we're trying to, for everyone out there that is paying attention, for everyone else that's picking up what we're putting down, what we're trying to tell you is it is depth over breadth at this point in time. All right. 75% of the applicants to selective schools are already academically qualified. Those grades, those test scores, that is your entry ticket. And so, parents, we just had an article in the Austin American Statesman come out about this. Parents need to understand that you are putting a lot of pressure on your teenagers by pushing them to participate in a whole host of internships and camps and research opportunities and jobs and clubs and all of that kind of stuff. What Melissa and I want you all to understand is it is about the depth of this activity that you are doing. We need to really start thinking about the storyline. We need to start thinking about, is your application easy to understand? Is it consistent? Is it showing clear direction here? It doesn't have to be the most decorated, doesn't have to be the most stacked. That is the most important thing. And I think that, listen, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think teenagers are overworked in high school. I think we really have to prioritize the mental health. And I think colleges and universities want a balanced, healthy student coming into their class. Definitely. All right, questions. All right, Melissa, I did send you a list of questions too. I'm going to go ahead and ask this one and I'll unpack it, but we'll just keep our answers kind of short here. This is from Marco at LASA, and his daughter's aiming for engineering, wanting to know how do we plan for financial aid? And the first batch of questions that we'll ask is going to center around timeline and planning. So it'll be related to those. But financial aid, I would recommend the net price calc. Well, first of all, I think that finances, we got to have conversations at the table about the budget. What is the family scholarship, here? And we have to start thinking about, moms and dads out there should be transparent. Here's how much money we have set up for you to go to college. Here's how much you can afford for year one and year two, year three, and year four. And if we don't have the money to outside of that, if you apply to a college that's going to cost more than that, here's how you're going to have to pay for that. So I think one, Marco, we need to have a conversation about how much money do you have? And then
Mhm.
that should help kind of shape. Now, there's resources out there to help you better understand how financial aid works. Melissa, how do you advise this type of question?
So I'm actually going to piggyback this with Priya's question from Bowie about when we should finalize a college list, because the college list, along with the financial planning and understanding how much scholarship money, grant aid, and federal aid, right, in the form of loans, it's all going to be dependent on that final college list and understanding How much do they award? You can do the net price calculator for each institution. You can also go into Common Application, and using the College Navigator tool, you'll be able to see how much they award for grants and scholarship money per student. What's the average? How much students end up taking out in loans. And so once you have that list going, then you can really see, okay, based off of what we can afford, what we're going to set aside, and what we have set aside for year one, two, three, and four, does this university match what we can afford? Are we going to be comfortable with that expense? And this is all, mom and dad, this is a return on your investment. I'm going to steal Dale's line and say, this is the biggest gift that you can give your student, your child, is their college education. And what is their return on your investment going to be? Is it going to be financial stability? Is it going to be that degree? Are they going to be off of your payroll, number one? Because we know, mom and dad, you're setting them up for success. And so when we look at the college list and we look at that net price calculator to understand the financial aid options, then we can have a real conversation of, do I want to have a bill of $450,000 when we're done? Or do we want to go with a slightly less cost for a 4-year degree that we can actually afford? And if my student then wants to go get their master's degree or a doctorate degree, then we can actually help them with that. But when it comes to financial aid, you're looking at the CSS profile for a lot of our private institutions and the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. That one is a graduation requirement in the state of Texas. And they also have a net price calculator in there as well. So you can go in and say, here's what we have right now. Here's what you would be eligible for as far as grants and loans and work study.
Definitely. And
Sorry, I went into two questions
love
there,
it.
Dale.
No, I just want the parent. No, you're great. And I just want parents to understand the net price calculators. I don't love those because I don't feel like they're very transparent. I feel like they just ask. I mean, they are federally colleges and universities that receive funding are federally mandated to have those on their website, but there's not like a specific template that they have. Some of them are better than others. The ones that take you 5 minutes to fill out are probably not going to give you a real number of things. They're going to be kind of bogus calculations here. So keep in mind, yeah, that's a great starting point, the NPCs. Print that out and make sure that you sit with a financial aid officer when you tour a college. But taking out the loans, this is something that I'm quite passionate about because I actually don't like debt. I don't like borrowing money and having to pay that off over time. That's just kind of how I have been wired. And so I want the parents out there that are the teenagers that are targeting very expensive colleges and universities, TCU, SMU, Baylor, Rice. Let's look at Stanford. Let's look at some of these crazy expensive out-of-state universities. You all know who they are. First of all, let's look at the major that your kid's going to apply to. And if your kid is not going, look at how much money they're able to make, typically in year one of graduation. You should not be borrowing more money than it will take them to pay off that loan after 1 year of education. Okay. So I am not a big believer that sending your kid to the most expensive or taking out thousands of dollars in loans when your kid is going to graduate and make maybe $35,000, $40,000 a year, but now they're sacked with $200,000, $300,000 in loans. You guys do the math. How long are they ever going to pay that back? So there's a good starting point. All right, Marco, financial aid. I mean, this is all about affordability and financial fit has to be key.
Mhm.
Very, very good question. John from Westwood has a daughter that wants to apply early decision for biology, wants to know when they should start that process. I think John might be thinking of early action. This is a good time to explain exactly what is early decision and what is ED, what is restrictive early action. Like you have a lot of different application manner opportunities. So how do you unpack that question?
So let's start with my favorite, which is rolling admission. Rolling admission is once you apply, the universities are rolling out their admission decisions. Texas A&M is one of the biggest ones that does a rolling admission. The sooner you apply with a complete application, our timeline is right around September 1st. That's our sweet spot. They're going to start rolling out those decisions. Okay. Then you have what we call early action. Early action for UT and Texas A&M is the deadline is right around October 15th, meaning the earlier that you apply and have everything submitted for your application, you're going to be in that first round of receiving your decision, your admission decision. Early decision. So early action is non-binding, meaning you can apply to as many schools as you want, really that 8 to 10 range. Early decision is one that is binding, meaning if they come back and say, hey, Melissa, we're offering you an admission decision. You've put us as your early decision university. We really want you. Melissa is going to say yes. Early decision, and I'm committing that they are my first choice university, no matter what. And mom and dad, no matter what, also means no matter what the cost. So going back to looking at your financial planning and what that is going to look like, can we afford to go early decision? An early decision is binding, meaning I'm committing to going to that institution. And all of my other applications now get withdrawn because I've committed that that is my first choice institution. Now, restricted early action it is similar, but there's one small caveat in that it just means that I'm telling these people, this institution, that yes, they are my number one, number two choice. And so there's a little bit more that comes into that application and how they are going to respond back to you when it comes to a restricted early action.
So a couple of things I want to note. I want to discuss a quick strategy for applying early decision, but I also want the families here, especially those of you in Texas, to know just a few of the schools that have rolling admissions. Texas State, Melissa mentioned A&M. A&M is famous for having rolling admissions, so you definitely, if you're applying to a STEM major, you want to get that application in sooner than later. Well, we don't want to rush the application. We submit the application when you feel good about it, but I always say within the first month is ideal. But Texas State has rolling admissions. We've also got University of Houston too. A lot of people don't know that TCU has rolling admissions as well. And so rolling admissions, if you're auto admit, rolling admissions is still good to take advantage of because you're looking for free money at that point. And the free money is the first thing to leave the table. So Marco, I know you asked about financial aid, but even with the FAFSA, in-state FAFSA grant money also is not an unlimited supply of award aid either. So those of you applying at the beginning of the application season really can benefit from that. My strategy for early decision takers, because it is binding, you can only apply to one school, and it is true, acceptance rates do tend to be higher when you apply ED versus the regular rounds. But if you have multiple colleges that you are considering, maybe 2 or 3 schools that are ED, here's what you want to do. Here's my pro tip. You want to look at the acceptance rates for those in the ED rounds. And the school with the most generous acceptance rate, you want to look at that school and you want to compare your stat to that school. You do not, and if you are maybe a target plus, that is the school that you want to apply to. You do not necessarily want to apply to an ED school if if that school is an extreme reach for you. So you want to look at the colleges and you want to look at where is the school that I have the biggest chance of getting admitted? Which school is less of a reach for me than the others? And that's the school that you want to, and which school has the most generous early decision acceptance rate. And this is how you play the game of I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to bet money on this college. You can only pick one school, right? And so while you want to be in love with all the colleges you're applying to, and ED really should be for that number one jewel school, you also don't want to waste your chip. by applying to a college where you would have had a better chance at getting admitted into another ED school because your stats were that much more of a fit. Y'all need to talk to a professional about this. Definitely, this is a conversation with mom and dad and your school counselor, or maybe even an admissions officer, because the stakes are high. And colleges that have ED, if once admitted, you're going. And you're going to pay for that college or that university. That school doesn't have to give you any merit aid at all. So there's a lot riding there's a lot on the books for that. Elena from Vandy, go Vipers. Your territory, Melissa. My
Yes.
son's a future pre-med major. When should he ask for letters of recommendation? So this pre-med major, I think we need to unpack what that means right there. And then what is the typical timeline for letters of recommendation?
So let's unpack the letters of recommendation first, because right now, I know Leander still has a week left in school. Right now is actually a really good time, if not a little earlier than now. I would say spring break is the best time until the end of the school year, because your teachers now have a really good understanding of who you are, how you've contributed, what your work ethic is, and they're able to speak to your academics and to your preparedness in the classroom. Those letters of recommendation, most of them, you're going to look at two academic areas when it comes to letters of recommendation, and then one that may pertain to that major area of choice. So for a pre-med, I'm looking at AP Bio, I'm looking at my anatomy and phys teacher, I'm also looking at maybe a biomedical engineering teacher, my HOSA sponsor, who is also going to see that I've competed in HOSA, that I've done some research, that I'm actively engaged within my high school community. And all of these things would be key to being included in that letter of recommendation. Each school, each counseling office or college and career center, if you will, should have a brag sheet for students to complete. And that brag sheet is something that you are going to provide to your recommender. Because they're not going to be sitting right next to you, or you're not going to be sitting right next to them to fill in the blanks. And so the more that you can provide them through that brag sheet, the better, because then they're able to pick up on things that maybe they don't know about you. So give them all of those cool things that you have been doing, that you've experienced, or maybe some struggles that you have had in your classes and how you've overcome those, because they can speak directly to those examples in your actual letter of recommendation. Now, future pre-med major. What are our courses looking like as far as that goes? I mentioned our biomedical science courses, anatomy and physiology, AP Bio, AP Chem, calculus. Hello. To be able to demonstrate that we are, yes, pre-med is the route that we want to go. We've taken those more rigorous courses, and we are set up for the demand and the type of learning that is going to take place in our undergraduate as we're looking towards medical school and preparing for those MCATs.
Definitely. When we're asking for letters of recommendation, some of you guys may be thinking, well, how do I even ask for this? I think the coldest way to do it is to assign a recommender inside the Common App and then just have them just get an email that said, so and so wants you to write a letter of recommendation. Can we not do that, everybody? There is a very diplomatic, polite way of doing this. You guys, these recommenders, they are taking time out of their night or their weekend. They are not getting paid to write you a letter to go to college. All right. And they've got like 40, 50, 60 plus. I mean, Melissa, I'm scared to even ask how many letters of recommendation you have to write as a school counselor. So let's be memorable about how you're going to ask. You first of all should approach them during their office hours. And you want to ask them if they would kindly write you a letter of recommendation and give them longer than 2 weeks. Don't tell them that you need that letter in a couple of weeks, the deadline is approaching. Don't do that to them, everybody. early, 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 early. And then if they say yes, they would be willing to write you one, then ask them if they've got a brag sheet. If they don't have one, free gift. Go to our website, accesscollegeamerica.org, send us a message. I'll give you our brag sheet totally free. We have brag sheets for all of our scholars. So if your recommender does not have a brag sheet, I'm gonna give you ours totally free. I'll send that out to you. And then you want to attach that with a resume, and you want to give them plenty of time. And then you would go online and you would ask them for that letter. I think, personally speaking, the most important letter recommendation is going to come from your school counselor, because your school counselor is going to paint you within context of your peers. How do you compare with your other peers? Were there any scheduling issues? Any that you had? Was there staffing issues that prevented you from getting that, multivariable calculus class that may be showing on a school profile? The school counselor's letters of recommendation kind of sets the tone for how that entire application is going to be unpacked. With that follows the school profile. And last but not least, check to make sure your high school doesn't already have a policy on how to ask for letters of recommendation. Some high schools are very clear when asking for a letter of recommendation, here's what you need to do. We're going to move on down to essay prep. All right, so the next batch of questions that we're going to ask is going to be about essay prep. And Tanya from Round Rock High, her son is interested in business. How do we even brainstorm the main essay topic?
So here's the deal, folks. There are actually 6 main essay prompts within the Common Application. And the 7th essay prompt is to write an essay on any subject of your choosing, meaning it could be an excellent English essay that you have written, or a history essay, or we mentioned psychology being super popular. Maybe it's an essay that you've written that reflects who you are, what you stand for, what type of learning have you experienced in the classroom, who are you outside of the classroom, what cool things do you have, or cool traditions do you have within your family unit that are memorable, that are remarkable, that are not the same. I'm not writing about my dance, my Indian dance, right? That's super popular with a lot of our Indian young ladies who want to write about their Arangetram. If you love engineering and you want to go into engineering, they don't want to read about Legos and how you loved playing with Legos since you were itty bitty. Mm-mm. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what have you learned? How have you engaged? And that main essay is 650 of your best words on that prompt. And it's about you. It ain't about grandma. It ain't about your auntie and uncle. It's about you. And those 650 words are going to be read by every college in your Common Application. Everybody's going to have access to it. So when it comes to writing about a major, mm-mm. When it comes to saying, I can't wait to be a Longhorn and in the burnt orange and white, or I've dreamed of saying gig 'em my entire life, that's not part of the main essay. The main essay is about you. And each piece, when we talk about essay prep, whether it's the main essay or the expanded resume or the supplemental questions, the short answer questions for each institution, it's a different layer about you that we're not going to find in the actual application itself. We don't want to know what your grades are. They can look at a transcript. They don't want to know the stats about your school. They can look at a school profile. They want to know who you are. What have you experienced? And biggest key of all, can you write? Not can AI write for you, but can you write? Because you are demonstrating your authentic self. You are writing your authentic words, not what a chat GPT told me to write and write it for me, but they can always tell if this is teenager speak versus machine learning and machine writing. And so they want to know, can you write? Can you think for yourself and put those words to paper? So you've got your main essay, which is your biggest piece of writing within the college application. You have your expanded resume, which is your next biggest piece of real estate within your college application. And then how you're able to connect to the university is all through those supplemental or the short answer questions that are very specific to each institution. UT has their two questions. A&M has two plus five that are hidden in the scholarship application. And so as you are creating that college list, you want to check out and see how many writing questions are they going to ask? And am I going to, number one, have the time? And two, if I've narrowed my list to about my top 8 to 10 schools, I can write those supplemental questions and I can write that one essay and have everything ready to go by that September 1st timeframe. I will tell you, Dale, half of my juniors, we've already put the bow on the package, and that main essay is sitting off to the
Oh my
side
God, that's
until we're
amazing.
ready. Yeah, until we're ready to unpack it and actually load it into our common application. So we're really concentrating right now on UT and A&M supplemental questions because those are going to be the first two schools that they're applying to. And we're going to get those ready to put that bow on that package and get those ready to go. And so when it comes to the essay writing, there's multiple layers to this entire essay piece.
That's amazing. Okay, guys, it is May 21st, and half of your scholars are finished with the main essay. That's a big, big stress relief. That's
Mhm.
amazing, everybody. I think that everyone freaks out over this main essay, and there's no reason to freak out over it. It's just a clear, easy, simple story about yourself. We don't have to make this complicated. But starting is the hardest point, and you don't want to drag this out. You guys know you're gonna have to work on a main essay. Let's go ahead and start unpacking that sooner than later. Um, Mike from Westlake, go Sheps. His daughter wants to study computer science and want to know what are common essay editing mistakes to avoid. Okay, so first of all, Mike, computer science, do not that your kid would do this, but let's not use AI to write the essays. All right, let's just not do that. We've worked with a range of incredible scholars. They're all exceptional in their own rights, in their own regards. The main essay should sound like a teenager. I think the moment you start putting writing into GPT or wherever, and you start asking it to fix things and give me a best college essay, whatever the prompt is. I don't even know what prompts would be that folks would do. But anyway, it doesn't sound like a teenager. There is an element of psychology that a teenager brings to the table. So, first of all, I know it's out there, and a lot of folks are going to use AI to help them with essays. It should be used as brainstorming, as, thoughtful guidance in how to topics to use. So I'm not saying that's the most common mistakes. Everyone's using AI. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if your teen is going to use AI because it's common these days, the best way to use it is as a tool for brainstorming. All right. But I would say over editing the essays, especially my computer science folks, those future engineers, they just want to hold on to that essay. They just want to love on that essay a little bit more. They're afraid to let that go. You guys, teenagers sound like teenagers. Admissions officers are not going to kick your application into the trash bin if you have one typo either, right? So they're expecting your essay to have a little bit of rawness to it. It doesn't have to be completely filtered. It is okay. But over editing would be my number one issue with main essays. Melissa, what about you?
So my other big thing about the main essay piece is you want to catch the admissions advisor, the reader, early. They are fresh early. If you sit there and hold on to that essay and wait to submit your application until November, number one, those coveted seats are going to be gone. Number two, the admissions folks are tired. They are getting tired because now they are 3 months into the application season. It's a lot. And with that essay, you only get about 7 to 8 minutes on your entire application. And so 7 to 8 minutes, folks, 7 to 8 minutes for them to read through your entire application. And you really want to capture their attention. So I've got Karen here from Bowie about having a strong hook for an essay. You want to grab your reader right away with that essay prompt. You want to describe, and I don't mean just describe this essay initially. You want to make them feel like they are there, like they are experiencing it right alongside you. And so when you can do that, and we don't sit there and perseverate over this whole thing, we get it out, we do an edit or two, and then now we're good. Going back to computer science, you guys like to hyper analyze everything and make sure that it's perfect. There is no one perfect essay. Period. There is no perfect essay. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be typos, and it's okay because you're a teenager. It's okay. And so, again, they want to hear a teenage voice. They don't want to hear, like Dale said, like I said, they don't want to hear AI. They want to hear you and your true, authentic words.
The hook that Melissa's talking about, this is what I'm thinking about is I have been watching way too much 2020 and Dateline lately. All right, I'll admit to that. But like horror stories, I used to love like scary movies and all that. I don't watch them anymore. But the first scene, it's always the murderer or, the gotcha moment, especially in these scary movies. You've always got somebody running through the forest and somebody's chasing them. That's how these movies and stories always start out. It's the adrenaline rush. It is the we are here today to read or to learn about this moment right here. So start with that hook. What is it that's going to be raw, that's going to capture that attention, the attention grabber, and then you can move in. I mean, it doesn't have to be that kind of an adrenaline rush like attention grabber, but like, what is it that you're wanting that reader? What is it that's going to be special? What's the special sauce? And let's go ahead and put that first. Let's give them the dessert first, right? Um, and then let's move on down to Common App and application strategies. So these questions are about application navigation and specifically the Common App. Dave from Bowie, daughter wants to major in psychology. Should we use the additional information section or skip it? How do you advise families on when they should use that section or not?
Yeah, so if there is another layer that is not already included in the main essay, in your expanded resume, in the short answer questions, to where you have new information. So if it's additional information, did we have a pause in our learning? Did we have to take a gap year? Did something take place within our family unit that mm, really made me struggle? And now I want the opportunity to be able to write about it and share about that experience. But everything that is in your application is another layer again to who you are. It's like the bloomin' onion at Outback. You're peeling back the layers one onion peel at a time, and you want them to get to the core of who you are. So it all depends on the scholar as far as do we have something that we is compelling enough to give the reader, or is it just going to be a kind of response? And if it's a kind of response, we're skipping it because we have other information that we can include in our writing pieces within the common application.
Definitely. Anita from Hockaday in Dallas, daughter's interested in biology. Can we reuse essays across applications?
So,
Tricky.
the essay itself, the main essay, there's only one main essay, and everybody is going to read that. When we talk about supplemental questions, I like to have a really good solid base with why I want to study biology. It's 250 words. Why my major, right? Why are you choosing this as your first choice major? You have 250 words to tell them why you want to go into biology. And so, Anita, your daughter needs to know what is it about biology, what experience, Was it the teacher? Was it the content that has made them excited to go into that field in college? Now, you can kind of reuse that a little bit, but then the follow-up is why this university? Why do we want to apply to Texas A&M? Why are we applying to UNC Chapel Hill? Why are we applying to other insert school here? Okay, it's all about the why. Okay, so can you reuse that piece? Yes, but you're going to have to craft it to what the university is looking for and what they are asking when it comes to those supplemental or the short answer questions.
Definitely. A
Yep.
lot of great information here, and there's no way we're going to be able to get through all these questions, but we do answer them on Facebook Lives. We do them also, we take them on Instagram, we post them, and all that good stuff. So if you submitted your question, we'll be doing this presentation again in the future, and we'll just continue adding to them. But when families do turn to us for services, a lot of times they turn to us for four good reasons. One, we're local leaders, we're deeply rooted in the Austin community. We know the high schools, the grading scales, the expectation for excellence, and that matters because Austin schools are competitive. Very, very competitive, and that's important. We also have a heavy STEM focus. Most of the questions that came through tonight were from folks that were interested in majors like within engineering, business, medicine, and the list goes on. So these STEM majors do tend to be the most popular majors today, and they're hard to get admitted into. They do tend to have the lower acceptance rates. I love the questions about essay prep because I believe we have best in class essay prep services. Our scholars go through writing workshops in which they get to read examples of essays that are competitive, essays of topics that are overused. Like, Melissa, what is that word? The traditional dance. What is the Indian traditional dance called again?
Aaron Getram.
So common that we even know about that. There you go. She said it. I didn't even have to say it again. So there's just overused topics. And while it is an incredible accomplishment to have some of these accomplishments, the reality is once an admission officer reads about it more than one in a day, it tends to be a bit common. Like getting the Gold Award or becoming an Eagle Scout and that Eagle Scout project. Very, very commendable, but tends to be overused. So our scholars have an essay specialist and they get one-on-one coaching, and it is unlimited support with the main essay, short answer questions, the expanded resume, as well as the activity list. And that's very important because these days, as I said before, colleges and universities, there's no shortage of students applying to the selective schools with competitive GPAs, class ranks, and test scores. This often comes down to the essays. So I love our essay prep services. And last but not least, we have add-ons now, guys. We can work with you on a research project. We have 10-week research project opportunities. We have another add-on where it's a little bit more of a accelerated path that's a 6-week research project. And then we also do, we can support you with as a test prep add-on. For in terms of our website, we have free events happening regularly. Visit accesscollegeamerica.org. Click on the free events tab at the very top. The next presentation we have coming up is next Tuesday with Lisa on applying to UT and A&M. We also have a presentation coming up on how to create a homegrown project, a DIY research project. And then we're going to be doing a presentation, Melissa and I, on lessons learned from the class of 2026. So if you want to catch Melissa again, save the date because we will be co-presenting on Thursday, June the 18th, and we'll be discussing what we learned about, what were the trends, the patterns. We are reflecting back on how this past year went. Go grab a spot for that. And then if you would like to learn more about us, go schedule a discovery call. In the top right corner, click on the Contact Us button, and you can go schedule 30 minutes with me. Parents, your teenager must be present, and we can discuss our pricing and our packages. But we always have lots of awesome free events taking place, and we would love to see you at any of those. Melissa, any final words of wisdom?
Start now. There's no better time to start than now, whether it is the researching your colleges and creating that balanced college list, starting on your essay, your activity list, your expanded resume. Start now. Small chunks lead to bigger rewards. And so the more you can get going now, the less stressed you are going to feel as application season really kicks off in August. Hopefully, you guys are able to take away a couple of nuggets from tonight's presentation. And please join us at our other free events, or get on with Dale and schedule that discovery call. We'd love to see you.
And my last two words, be intentional. That's my piece of advice. Do not crowdsource your way through this. Do not compare your plan to anybody else's. Everyone else is running their own race. What worked for somebody might not work for you. Don't pick classes or participate in activities and events because somebody you know did that and got admitted into Rice or whatever. Be intentional. This is about you making personalized decisions that will benefit you, and be selfish about that too. Do not compare yourself to others. Again, be intentional. You guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you, Melissa, for co hosting with me. Bye bye.